Welcome to Massive Passive Cash Flow, the podcast that guides professionals to financial prosperity. Join our community and let's start building your wealth. Here's your host, Gary Wilson.
Welcome back to the Massive Passive Cash Flow podcast. I'm Gary Wilson, your host, and I'm so glad to have you back listening to the show or watching if that's the case. You can watch it on YouTube and Facebook and everywhere you can get a video. We got a great guest today, Kevin Davis. And Kevin's going to talk to us about investing. It's primarily, could be stock market, could be insurance, but there's some fun stuff related to it. I want you to really pay attention. If you're not driving, this is one you want to get out your pen and pencil and some paper. And of course, you'll see in the show notes, we'll put all that stuff on the show notes too. So if you are driving, don't worry, you can catch up later on when you get back home. So first off, Kevin, thanks for joining us, man. I know this is a good day for us. I'm so glad to have you on board, man.
Thank you, Gary. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
You got it. Hey, if you wouldn't mind, most of us were in business for ourselves, and we didn't start off in life saying, I'm going to be this, or we started off saying, I'm going to be a policeman. I'm going to be a fireman. I'm going to be an astronaut, So take us through, if you don't mind, what I would call your transition period. You probably went to school to study something, and then some point later on, you realize there's more to life than this, so kind of start from there, if you don't mind,
Yeah, this is going to be a doozy. So, okay. I don't think I even started wanting to be a stockbroker. So I used to be a rapper. Hilarious.
Cool.
Right. So, in about, I was 16 or 17 years old. My mother decides that because she was out on her own at 17, that I should be out on my own at 17. So after my second year of college, I had to get out. So with that being said, yeah, it was a lot of fun. But my good friend said to me, you know what, you're really good at this rap thing. And I did it as a hobby. And this is in the 80s. And so I said, okay, I started it. It took me about, I want to go 5 years. Right. Yeah, give or take 5 years before I got a record deal. Then I got a record deal with Warner Brothers Records. And I was the first rap artist signed to Warner Brothers Records in history. Right. So from there, I did very well. I had a hit record named Stomp. It was a hip house record. So it was like hip hop and house music. And it's a classic record, they say. They keep playing it and keep telling me about it. But anyway, from there, the career went very well. I made about $2 million in like maybe 2 years, and I lost $2 million within 5 years. That's how it works. And then I was looking at this show everybody might be familiar with called Trading Places with Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd. Yeah. And I was like, I want to do that. That would be awesome. So this is how coincidence happen and strange things happen. I'm sitting in front of my grandmother's house, and my next door neighbor was sitting on her step, and I'm looking at the newspaper, and it's showing me all of these. You can make X amount of dollars by being a stockbroker. I didn't have a clue what that was. And so because Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd was doing commodities, I didn't know, but I knew after the fact. But anyway, so she took me into this place called Stratton Oakmont, which is the notorious firm for Wolf of Wall Street. And right, it gets very interesting. Yeah. So now I'm there. I don't have a clue about the history of this place. I just know that the person, Jordan Belfort, was no longer there. He had already got excommunicated for the firm. And so they were taping all of our calls. We were super compliant at that time. But nonetheless, I was there for 2 years. I was recommending Apple at $18 a share. That means if you had just $18,000, it'd be worth over $5 million right now. That's so incredible. But we were order takers. We didn't have a clue how to research. They gave us a stock, told us what to do, and that's what we did. So that place went out of business on December 6, 1996. I got licensed January 13th, 1995. And then I bounced around from firm to firm, and then I ended up in a research firm, which is how my life kind of changed, because I learned how to research stocks, and I became very good at it to this day. Right. And so that's how I entered the Wall Street. from music to stocks. And then the market crashed in 1999. If you can remember the dot-com implosion, I was there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun too. I didn't want to get out the bed to go to work. But anyway, and I remember stocks were going down. It was, first of all, let's go back. During the dot-com, anything with dot-com next to their name would be explosive. We were making hand over fist. There was so much money being made. Then at the end, you had companies like, I don't know if you're familiar with Lucent Technologies from back then. Yep. Right. So they did the smart thing, like, you know what? Let me lend my vendors money. And that would be awesome. And then they went out of business. And then everything started to go down. I remember walking into the office. You remember AOL, we had the sign on. And so that stock was at 50 points in one day. And one of my clients had 7,000 shares. And that took that. He had AOL for 7 years. We never sold it. It split 7 times and turned a $100,000 account to $1 million account. We sold it that day. The commission on that was $105,000, both sides. Back then, when you charged 2.5 in, 2.5 out, it was just an crazy, insane type of time. And then the markets just crashed. And the dot-com imploded. And then I got to the point where I was like, okay, you know what? Let's move to Florida. Let's open up a mortgage company. And it's exactly what I did, And so that's it. And it transcend. I mean, at the end of the day, now I'm in a different space from where I was, but it's been ups and downs from there.
Yeah. What's amazing is when you look back at that time, by the way, interesting story. AOL.com bought another .com called advertising.com. Well, I met the guy who created advertising.com. He was in college when he created it, and they were just beer guzzling, crazy. I don't even know if they were in a fraternity, but they were crazy like they were in a fraternity. And he sold that for $500 million.
Yeah.
Right. And he sold it after. So the NASDAQ went down. Remember, it was around 2000. And it went down we thought, boy, it's going to have a hard time getting back to 2000. Look where it is now, It's amazing. But
it was amazing times back then in the stock market. It was cowboyish.
Yep. And this guy, when I met him, we were at the Governor's Club in Fort Lauderdale and meeting Rich DeVos, the founder of Amway. That was pretty awesome. Got to lunch with him and sat at his table. But this guy, we all went to his house afterwards, and he had a dancing pole in his living room, because he's like 25-year-old kid,
Wow.
But and we're all like in our 30s and 40s and 50s. It was just comical. But what's interesting is opportunity is out there in abundance. The key is to put yourself out there and engage and embrace. And you got to try stuff, man. You got to try stuff. Yeah, baseball players, they don't hit every ball as a home run. No, they strike out 2/3 of the time. The good ones do, So in any case, Sean, let's get back to this. You started this mortgage company in Florida. And I'm sure if you held on to it, that would have been pretty good, because you see what's happened to Florida now. But see, the thing is, when you're going through, like when the recession hit in 2007, late 2007, I was in Florida.
Yeah.
In fact, I was at Frank McKinney's place in Delray Beach, and people were asking me, what do I do? I had all these pre-construction townhomes and whatever, and they're just, now the builders are gone, developers are gone. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. There's
everything fell apart. Everything. I was in Florida too.
Yeah. So, and I knew people who were doing pre-construction flips. They'd get something in a contract and then sell the contract to someone else and make $100,000, and then they would be the end user living there. But then he stopped literally that summer of 2007. I saw it too. In July 2007, I said, you watch. This thing is going to come crashing down. I can't tell you today, tomorrow, the next day, but sure enough, end of August is when the stock market started doing the roller coaster ride. Between then and the Thanksgiving, 1/3 of the mortgage brokers had left the business.
Yep, absolutely.
So take us from there.
So a lot of my buddies had transitioned from Wall Street to mortgage brokers because it was the next big commission, I guess. Right. And so I wind up driving. I never forget. It was June 5th, 2005. and I drove to Florida. I took my mortgage broker license that morning, no rest. Got licensed. I met someone at the licensing center that worked for a mom and pop shop, which was a blessing because they allowed me to see the inner works of how mortgages get processed. If I worked for a big bank or a bigger outfit, I would have never saw that. And I was always amongst the thought process of always own the thing you're about to do, meaning don't go work for someone just to go work for them. Learn the process, and if you can, do it yourself. And so that's exactly what happened. Now, here's a funny part. A friend of mine, a good friend, he has this big idea. This is when I was in Jersey. And I'm from New York, by the way. But anyway, so he goes, listen, let's go buy foreclosures. And I was like, okay, I have some money in the bank. Let's go have some fun. So I didn't know what that entailed. He dragged me to the courthouse. We saw the Liz Pendens, and he wanted me to go with him to people's homes whose houses were 90 days late in payments, in arrears. And I went to the first house, and then in the car, I said, that doesn't feel right. We're not doing that. I'm not doing that. So I didn't do it. But what it did was it made me remember that all the mortgages were recorded in the courthouse. So when I got to Florida, everything was online. It was gold. This is when the backgrounds started to kick in because Miami, Dade, Broward, and Palm County were all online. And this is back during that big refinance from 2005, right? So as a stockbroker, we wrote scripts. And those scripts were really easy to write, but it wasn't hard for me to say, okay, I'm going to use Intillious.com, get the number, look up the mortgage, see where it's going from, and call up Mr. Jones and say, listen, I'm not sure if you're aware, but your mortgage is going up from 5 to 11%. Were you aware of this? They would want to see me right away. So I started doing 20, 30 mortgages a week. And this is in that little mom and pop shop. So they're like, they got the golden goose here. I got people working for me, getting the numbers or whatever the case may be. So about 6 months later, I decided to get my own shop, and I started doing the same thing. And it was just like amazing. Now, I always tell people, you meet people for a reason. Nobody's by accident, right? So I play poker, and I was pretty good at it. So what happened is I'm playing in a free contest in a bar, and I meet who is she? She's a title clerk, and she introduced me to one of my best friends now. But he was my client. He gave me my first mortgage, and he happened to have 100 properties. So I became his only mortgage broker. So now we're doing 2 and 3 mortgages a week through him. Through him, I met the largest exit realty owner in Coral Springs, and they have 400 realtors, and I become their guy. And now we're partnering, him and I, and we're doing a lot of business. And it was the best time ever, Schaefer City, as we call it. And then in 2008, May, I did my last mortgage. Everything was about 700 plus credit scores, FHA, and putting 20, 30% down. It was a different place. Banks were very tight with lending. And so from there, I had to say, okay, what am I going to do next? And I couldn't just go work in a bank. I wouldn't go work in a bank. A friend of mine said, you should get your insurance license. I said, for what? Life insurance. I said, life insurance. And they introduced me to this company, American Income, and it was a unionized shop. So they gave you leads. But the thing that got me there wasn't because they gave me leads. I always knew how to get leads. What got me there is they said, you can have your own shop if you qualify within a certain period and write X amount of dollars. That's all I heard. I didn't hear anything else. I think I was a blur. And from there, it took me a year and 6 months. I was the top producer there. I had the biggest team going. And then they gave me the Maryland, DC, West Virginia, area. And I had to leave Florida. Now, crisis of conscience. I did not want to leave. But I did want to achieve. So I did want to build something called renewals. And so I left. I spent 7 years in that territory. I retired in 2000, at the end of 2016. I returned back to Florida in 2017. A friend of mine, where I first started my career, at that firm. I went to go work there for 2 years. So my renewals would kick in because the accounts had to, what they call clear. So once you cleared all your debt, then the renewals would pay to you every month. So that happened in 2019. And I retired at the end of 2019. And you know what happened at the beginning of 2020. Yeah. I'll let you jump in there. We'll have some fun with that as well.
Yeah. It's amazing is that in 2019, I was on the road for the prior 5 years, traveling all over US and Canada teaching real estate agents how to work with real estate investors. And we were doing really well. And it was a lot of fun, but I was missing everything at home. And I'm thinking, I'm kind of getting tired. I was getting burned out from being in hotels every night. And I mean, it was nice.
That's a rough road.
Ritz Carlton and eating great food. But that's hard on the body. And you miss a lot at home. You miss all the stuff, the little pickup get-togethers on the weekends in the neighborhood or your friends going to a ball game. You miss all that stuff. Well, we put everything online in 2019, anticipating that we would start doing our business online. And then sure enough, that pandemic hit. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to relax because we're ready. Because remember, I couldn't go around teaching a person anymore. That was all done. It wasn't like a slowdown. It was instantaneous on March 16th. That week they told you by end of week Friday, we're shutting down the borders, we're shutting this, shutting that, and shutting everything. And what I didn't realize is how hard that transition is. Even if you get all your ducks in a row, transitioning from offline to online it's not like you miss
it's a lot.
The beat and the money. Yeah. So we ended up, making it through that transition, and it took probably, I would say, it was a half a year before we were back up and in the black again, making money, and in another year, we was the next couple of years ended up being pretty good. But remember, the prices of real estate had started going up dramatically, and then now we got the interest rates creeping up. So you got this demand, but it's unfulfilled demand because people are thinking, crap, 4 years ago, I could have got a house for $2,300 a month. Now it's $5,000 a month.
Absolutely.
So that's where we are now. But I'm, fortunately, I have no debt. I've got a team in 38 states, and we're still, it's as low down as the volume's gone. Like, I mean, people will tell us like 40% drop year to date. Ours is more like 25%, but we're good. I mean, but building that business to be national, have a national footprint for a team was really unusual. And the fact that we focus on investors means we've really got two sources of business, owner occupants and investors alike. So it gives us, we can weather the storm much easier because we can shift more easily. But and that, hey, this is my fifth business, and you learn as you go along. It's just the way. I want to tell everybody out there, we're gonna get back to Kevin here, but I want you just to know this: don't ever give up. Okay, you're going to make it as long as you wake up every day, hit the ground running, and just like in baseball, when you get in a slump, what does the coach tell you? You got to get in there and swing. You got to swing your way out of the slump. And that's how you do it. You cannot give up. You got to keep swinging every day. So anyway, so now let's move over to you. So now you got you're doing the life insurance going on. You got the stock market thing going on. So where are you now? Tell us what is it you're doing now?
Okay, so it kind of lends right into the pandemic situation. So my friends called me up and go, listen, you're really good at this stock market thing. Why don't you start teaching it? I go, no, I'm just retired. I don't want to be bothered. And so they kind of twist my arm. You should start a Facebook. And then my friends pounded me. These are all, one's a personal friend, but there's another one who was a state general agent as I own his own franchise, still does to this day. And he's like, Kevin, you should do this. Because at the time I was giving away the stocks for nothing. I had like 11 stocks. I gave them 9 of them tripled. They were like, what's going on? I said, it's about free cash flow and they got to be making money and all these different things. And they said, you should teach this. So my Facebook grew from 29 people to 6,300 by the end of the year 2020. I started holding these games, which kind of bleeds right into why we're on the phone today or the Zoom today. I started doing stock competitions on Investopedia. things that I found out were
Mhm.
very interesting. People lose their inhibitions about stocks when they're in a competition. We told them where to buy stocks. We told them, how to research them. We just did a masterclass event during a competition, and people were
Mhm.
blown away. So what would happen is maybe
Yeah.
these competitions would last a month, and always in like the second or third week, people would ask me to coach them, and I would turn people down. My friend said, "So you
Mhm.
crazy?" I go, "Well, yeah." And then I said, "Okay." And then I started coaching people, and it was about relationship though. That's the only way you can get into coaching. If I can't build a relationship with you, I don't want to just do things for money, because I'm past that now at this stage of my
Mhm.
life. So
Yeah.
it just blew up. It just every month. And then we did 21 games. And then all of a sudden, Investopedia, the site that I was using, went bad. They changed the site around and we couldn't operate. So my friend said, "Why don't you have the funds? Why don't you create your own app?" I said, "Why don't I?" And so I created the
Mhm.
app. It took me 2 years and 8 months to do. Investment Dojo is the name of the app. It's in the Apple stores and
Okay.
Google Play as well. And people are having a marvelous time with it now. And we
Mhm.
just launched it in August. So that's what's going on now. I'm in the coaching phase, and building the app.
Did you know that you can participate in class every Monday? We call it Monday Night Live, 7 p.m. Eastern, with me and dozens of other investor agents from around the country, in fact, the world. Every Monday, totally free. No selling, no recruiting, just straight up education on anything and everything in real estate. And we have a lot of good guests coming on once or twice a month, bringing in expertise on subjects like how to buy a house with crypto. Okay. How about them apples? What about AI? How's AI affecting our business? How about the metaverse, blockchain processing? We're already using it in title work. So come on to Monday Night Live. Be ready to take notes and ask questions, because it's live and engaging, and you get to participate by asking questions and meeting others. So we'll see you there. Go to realestateWithGaryWilson.com. Click on the resource tab, drop down, and you'll see Monday Night Live. And in there, you can see one of the most recent classes. But more importantly, you can register for class as many as you want going up to like the end of the year, I believe. So in any case, do that. We'll see you on Monday Night Live. Look forward to meeting you in person. Take care. Okay. So what so people can go online, they can find us, go into Google's Play Store and find the
Correct.
app,
In Apple
and
Store
it's
as well.
Investment Dojo, DOJO,
Yep. Like a
right?
karate dojo.
Okay, and I'm assuming that's you can also find that on social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok,
Investment
things like that.
Dojo on Facebook, Investment Dojo YouTube, Investment Dojo TikTok. I don't have a Investment Dojo Instagram. For some reason, I'm not really friendly on Instagram. I
That's
don't know
okay.
why.
Yeah, I know how to operate like LinkedIn and Facebook, but I'm on the others too: Instagram, TikTok, the Twitter, which is now X.
And also
I just
Twitter.
don't
Yep.
know. All I can do is if I get a message, I can look at it. That's the extent of my knowledge.
Yeah.
The
It's just
virtual
too
assistants.
much.
It
It's just
is.
too
It is,
much. My,
man.
my friends had to twist my arm to get on TikTok. I just got on TikTok last year. I have like almost 6,000 people following me. So I guess the message is potent.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm doing a YouTube every Wednesday called Stock Exchange Wednesdays. And it's a
Okay.
live event. And I talk about the current events in the market and kind of go from there. And we just kind of have fun, just trying to democratize this thing called investing.
So it's on YouTube. It's Stock Exchange.
Yes, the channel is Investment Dojo, but the YouTube show on Wednesday evenings at 7:30 Eastern Time PM.
Okay.
It's called Stock Exchange Wednesdays.
Okay. All right. Good. I'm writing all this down here. All right. Perfect. So take us through. Let's say somebody discovers you on TikTok, for example, and they go and download the app. Um, Take us through that experience. Like, how do they? How does it start?
Mhm.
What can they expect? Is there, the
Sure.
competition, or are you also on like a Discord or something, or maybe the app
Well,
handles all that? But take us through
well,
that if you don't mind. Yeah.
okay, so the app is really super user friendly. That's number one.
Mhm.
It's a moderated game by myself and my coaches. So
Mhm.
what will happen is you download the app. You have a game that you'll be pointed to. You download, you get in the game. It's going to be password driven if I'm doing a private moderated game. And that's what happens. And we do meetings every Saturday, Zoom meetings. We celebrate the winners. We teach in those meetings, and it's like masterclass style. So we want you to have a macro and a micro outlook. So you understand how the market works and how the stocks work in the middle of the macro environment. And so it's really, from what I understand, the game is addicting. It's a lot of fun. And the teaching and the coaching from there is very potent, because I'm not coming from a book ahead or read a chapter. This is 30 years of Wall Street experience now. So It's a little bit different, and let's just put it this way. I make sure that people understand at least the financial walkthrough they need to get through, whether they get accepted, because you have to qualify to get into coaching. Whether they get accepted is one thing, but they definitely get a ton of information. And people go, well, you can charge for that. No, I don't charge for that. Coaching, yes. But when it comes down to the actual app, it's free. The contest is free. It's a 3-week contest now. We shortened it from a month to 3 weeks. And it's a ton of fun. We have leadership boards. We have group chats. So people are always posting their feelings in the group chats. It's just great. And we tell them where to find stocks, and we play with a 15-minute lag. So here's what I mean. If let's say Apple is trading at $200, which it is now a little bit above, but trading at $200 in the stock market, but on the actual app is trading at $190. Buy it on the app at $190, sell it 10, 15 minutes later at the 210 or 214, wherever it is right now. And so now you don't have to be that great at picking stocks. You're exploiting the differences. So one might say, well, how do you learn in this case? Well, I always tell people, listen, it's not about the what in anything you do. It's about the why. So the why is more important than the what. So if you know why these stocks are going up, you gain some more information, and then you bring that back to us when we have our coaching sessions, and we have a lot of fun teaching that information. So I'm really famous for breaking things down to baby food, because I follow Peter Lynch. So who's Peter Lynch? Peter Lynch used to run the Magellan Mutual Fund, Fidelity. You look familiar with him. Okay. And so he has 3 books, and I always give these 3 books out. And one is One Up on Wall Street, Beating the Street, and then Learn to Earn. Learn to Earn, it should be the first book you read, right? The second one should be One Up on Wall Street, and the last one should be Beating the Street, because they get a little bit more progressively challenging as you go through, but they're really easy. And you can audiobook them if you don't like bending a book. But if it's not as simple to a point where a 7-year-old can understand it, then you didn't do it right. And I followed that premise. So his thought process is buy what you know. My thought process is monetize what you patronize, but you have to research it, because he didn't believe in tech stocks. He just didn't. He believed in value and growth, but he did not believe in tech stocks. But you have to realize he was the head of the Fidelity Mutual Fund from 1977 to 1990. So he was way before we got into this really big tech revolution, so to speak. So, but it's great to be able to open people's eyes up, because what happens is during the competition, people get so hell-bent on the competition. It's so addictive to them that they forgot they were scared about the stock market. And that's where it becomes, hey, it's a learning experience. And then people ask me to coach them, and we're long-term investors. We're not traders. Over here, like I have people up 240. My son's up at 266%. This is over 3 years. I'm up about 300 and something percent over the same period. I always judge myself by my team. And pretty much we got a lot of people up over 100%. It just depends on how good you listen, though, because we have this thing called listening at the speed of coaching and researching at the speed of light. And never buy something from a tip or someone you don't know or verified source. It doesn't make sense unless you know exactly what it is. So if you've never listened to an earnings call, you don't know who the founders are of the company, you don't know how to read a balance sheet, you shouldn't be buying stock.
Yeah. Well, this sounds pretty awesome. So the competition, you're coaching people throughout the competition. Is that right? So you and the other coaches will each have your own team, or are you coaching? Can you coach members of different teams?
Well, we coach everybody. It doesn't matter who it is. There's no teams. It's like if you have a difficulty, you reach out through group chat. We put you in a group me. We also have the group chats and the direct message on the actual app. inside the game. So there's
Okay.
no way you can get us. And so if you have an issue, we can handle it. And we kind of go from there, and we just make things seamless. It's live. It's the first it's a social trading because you can friend your friends and invite them to games and create your own games and, take all your friends and go there. You got private rooms, public rooms, play in real time. It's a really awesome experience.
Yeah. All right. This really sounds good. It sounds awesome because I know when people get into something like this, not just stock, but real estate, stock, gold, silver, crypto, there's always natural hesitation, mostly among the newer people. Veterans,
Mm-hmm.
they've already, the ones that are good have stabilized emotionally. They know how to look at the data and make rational decisions and not get caught up in the should I hang on a little bit longer? It took a dip, but maybe it's going to go back up, all that stuff. You just follow what you're taught. But in any case, competition. This is what I'm gathering here is helps lift people out of that, so that because when you're competing, you're going to be naturally more inclined to take action. Is that sort of the premise behind doing
Yeah.
that?
Yes, to answer the question, but I discovered it not in this realm. I
Yeah,
discovered that in insurance. Whenever I trained an agent and I had 10 agents in the field, the new agent would always be hesitant to go into the home. So I
yeah,
said to him, listen, we put 2 new agents out today. You going to let Bobby beat you? They go, no. And they go in the house and sell a policy. They come out. They say, I wrote X amount of premium. And I go, who's got next? And then Bobby sells a policy bigger than him. Who's got next? And now he's going. And it became this competition. And they forgot about being scared because they were also well trained. So it's the same
yeah,
premise. I don't tell people what to buy. I tell them what I'm buying for my son and teach them how to research what I'm doing. It's a
yeah,
different thought process because if you now know how to stop, I say stop the steal, right? So it becomes someone's giving you a stock pick. Everyone's
yeah,
genius. Like everybody's talking about NVIDIA now. Oh, NVIDIA. I've owned NVIDIA for 6 years. So
yeah,
okay. But
yeah,
if you know how to invest and know how to research and know what the metrics of measurement that that Wall Street's looking for, the
hmm,
metrics of Wall Street, then it makes sense. It makes total sense. So reality behind it, that's what I do. I just kind of make sure that I use the game as a vehicle to get into my coaching, but the game is free and it's still a lot of fun nonetheless.
yeah. Well, let me ask you. I know we're running out of time. We're at that magical half hour, but I'd ask you a couple more questions if you don't mind. And
Sure. Sure.
I'm getting a good feel for you. I mean, we talked before the show, and I really like what you're doing, man. I mean, I think what
Thank
you're
you.
doing is not just a great business model, but it's a great service model. I mean, you're a servant leader, and is that your driving force? Well, what is your driving force? If like the inspiration,
Good question. So my son, I have a new daughter that's 4 months and a week old, and family. I'm big on family. Like everything I do, I wake up in the morning. I don't even know if I sleep anymore, but
Mhm.
that's why I do what I do. And then I came from nothing, and now to be able to be retired and not have to worry about financial issues is a blessing.
Mhm.
And I see how many people are. I don't know if they're not paying attention to that day when it comes, but there's going to be a day where they have to retire because they're forced to retire because their body won't go any further. They'll be out of their
Yeah.
working years. And if they haven't planned correctly and financially, they're going to be in a world of hurt. So I
Yeah.
democratize this whole thing with the game to get people open to it and to show them that, listen, you don't have to be great at it. Listen, the S&P 500. So that's returned 10.5% over the last 100 years compound interest if you add in the dividends, right?
Yeah.
So when you think about that, if you take an 18-year-old, 47 years later, that 18-year-old is 65. If they just put $100 away every single month, they have a
Mhm.
$1.1 million at 65. And for every 100 that 18-year-old puts in, 2, 3, 4, add another 1.1. So if you want to
Mhm.
have 5.6 or $5.5 million, get all of your 18-year-olds to do 100 and forget about the money. Act like you ate sushi. That's what I tell
Mhm.
people. Right? Act like it's gone and don't even think about it. When they wake up, they're retired. And here's another thing. I always tell people, especially families, and families, this is the driving force for me to get families back together. So, we're around the same age group. Our families used to eat dinner at the same time at night. We used to play in the park, in the middle of the street and have fun, those type of things. We don't have that because they're running into two different directions. So I always say, listen, first of all, everyone should have a trust. I'm sure you know about those, right? But what if you had a family trust where all of the elders decided to say, you know what? I'm going to put $500 a month of my income, and all the kids that are of adult age are going to do the same thing. We're going to do this family trust, and we're going to do this thing for 30 to 40 years. The first 30 years, no one takes anything out. At the end of the 30 years, you'll take back, whether it be 500,000 for everyone that contributed, and then the kids and everyone else just continues. You know how much money that is? If you just look at a compound interest calculator at 10% a year, just do the math. If you have nothing else to do. And if you want to follow me on Facebook, Investment Dojo, you'll get a chance to ask me questions. But the whole point behind it is my purpose is making sure that I don't leave anything, I leave a lot of things for my son and my daughter. My son is a 5-year-old with a 6-figure account. He's 5. He'll be a millionaire by 10. And so
that's amazing.
And I say that to say that if we focus on these things, it wasn't because I put a ton of money in there. I just was consistent. I had discipline, and I made sure I stayed investing. And I paid him before I paid anybody else, and that was it.
Yeah. Well, that's a pretty awesome why, and I love the idea about using the trust. There are cultures in our planet Earth here that actually do stuff like that. They'll prepare the next generation, help them with their wedding. They're getting their first house, things like that. That's
right.
Awesome idea. Yeah.
Yeah. It's simple too. It's just that people don't know what to do. It's like I walked into the store today. I had to get a business line, and I walk into T-Mobile, and although it wasn't the best service scenario, I see the guy, and this is what I see sometimes when I see people. I see people that they desperately want a way out. They just don't have a clue how to get there. So I say, listen, are you investing? They go, no. And I got on my shirt, it says Investment Dojo and whatever the case may be. And I go, listen, you should be investing. How old are you? I'm 24 years old. I go, my God, let me show you something. So I show him what a compound interest calculator looks like. And I said, could you put $400 away? First, I showed him 100. He says, yeah, 100, I can do 100. I said, okay, that's, it's like 600,000 in 40 years. Right.
Yeah.
But if you put $400 away a month, every month into VOO, which is the Vanguard S&P 500, it has the lowest expense ratio, lower than the SPY. But anyway, it came out to 2.6 million in 40 years. I said $1 million in 34 years or 36 years, something like that. He was blown away. I said, you don't have to struggle. It doesn't matter how many jobs you have. You can afford to put $400 away every month. And so I just think people aren't being guided the right way. Now, I can't give advice anymore. I'm not licensed anymore, but I can tell you what I'm doing for my family. And this is what I do. So I said, listen, let me show you. My son has almost, I showed him the account because I wanted to motivate him. And he said, oh my God. I said, yeah, he's 5. So when you look at it, he was blown away. But the thing about it is, I think everyone should be giving a shot. It doesn't matter who you are, where you are. Everyone should understand that, because we're not taught that in school. We have to kind of fumble our way into the understanding. And I think that if we did that, families would be together, right? It would be a lot more, hello, how you doing when I walk down the street, right? It wouldn't be as much grilling and upset people as we see mad about something. Because you take money out the equation. And I said to you, listen, Gary, list the 10 things that are the most important to you in your life. Money wouldn't make the list. Because you'd say, is it worth your peace of mind? No. Is it worth the love that you have? No. Is it worth it? It's just not worth the real things in life. And once you get to a point where you don't make money decisions anymore, you make decisions that are holistic to your person, it becomes a little bit different. And then, and then you also attract that. Like I have a gentleman, this is short story, but my buddy Mike, and my people become my friends and family because they're closer to me than anything. This guy started with $1,500 in his account, contributions every month, paying himself and his family. He went from 1,500 to 1,800. He went from 1,800 to 3,000 a month, putting into his account. Then he went from 3,000 to 3,500, and now he's at $4,900 a month that he's putting away into his stock account. Mind you, his stock account is up over 200, and I would say, well, when I asked him a week ago, it was 218, but then stocks kind of went up from there. So he's probably around 220, 225. But this is in a 3-year period. And while no one can promise gains and can you really do it again? No, it's just about consistency, knowing how to research, staying true to your plan. And he said to me, you know what, Kevin? I've never agreed with money, when it came to his wife. They've never agreed with money. Now they're like Batman and Robin. And I said to him, it's just important. And I went to meet him. I hang out with, we're friends now. We're just super friends. Mm-hmm. But the reality behind it is that he said he never was able to touch $100,000 liquid until he met me. And and that made me feel good. I mean, there's a lot of people like that in my crew now, but it's just because of that game. The game in back of me. Yeah. The game started. It was a free event. They said, you should charge for this thing. You give out too much information. I said, no, it's about democratizing investing.
Yeah.
If everybody can get in and see what it is, then that's the deal. Yeah, you want skin in the deal. Well, that's coaching. You can't come into coaching without skin in the deal. But when it comes to this is the best way to learn my personality. I get a chance to learn yours because the reality is I'm going to have you around me. I'm going to have you around my family. And that's a little sticky. So I need to get to build a relationship. So before anything, it's always about relationships. So we did a good thing. We did a real good thing.
Yeah, I agree. And it is, honestly, I know a lot of it just comes with time in the field and maturity. And you realize it's the relationship that you focus on and everything else flows from that.
Just help people, just help people.
That's it.
Like, that's it. Yeah. Just help people and help them get out of their way. A lot of the people, I talked to one of my buddies. He's like, he's funny. He lives in Louisiana. He goes, I never would have thought, my account's over 100,000. I go, yeah, but in the beginning, he wasn't as coachable. So I joke with him. Now he's super coachable. Like he won't make a decision without making sure he runs it by me first. And I go, okay, I can't help you. I can't tell you what to do, but I can definitely tell you what makes sense for me.
Yeah. Cool. Well, we're going to go ahead and wrap this one up. This is, you really loaded us full of good information, and I love the competition. But I want to review this first before we take off here, guys.
Sure.
Just remember, Investment Dojo. You can find it on almost all the social media. You can get the app from Apple Store and Google Play Store. I suggest you participate. See if you can be in the competition. Oh, hey, when's the next competition coming up, Kevin?
The next competition is going to be August 1st. The orientation is July 15th. Okay. So anyone that gets involved, all they have to do is join my Facebook group, Investment Dojo on Facebook, and it'll be posted about it daily, and they'll be able to get involved. They'll be able to follow me on YouTube as well, Investment Dojo, where I'll be talking about it there as well.
Okay. And then they can also go to the YouTube channel, Investment Dojo, and catch a video there too, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome. All right. This is awesome. For everybody listening, I hope you got as much out of this as I did. I mean, you know me, I don't want to have all my eggs in one basket. I'm known as a real estate guy, but most of you know we've had people on with gold and silver stocks. This is very unique. It's a great way to learn. And the best way to take action is to be in some competition. So I say take advantage of it, man. And while you're out there online, make sure you leave a review. If your review is our currency in the podcast world. We don't get paid for this. We build relationships. Actually, isn't that ironic? We just talked about that. So be part of this success. Leave a review. We certainly appreciate you for doing that. And God bless you and your families. And Kevin, you too. God bless you and your family. Thanks for doing this.
Same to you.
And we will see you all on the next Massive Passive Cash Flow podcast.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Massive Passive Cash Flow. Be sure to go to realestatewithgarywilson.com to join our community and start building wealth today.